The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.
Good evening all. Welcome along to another edition of the Scottish Football Social Club and Premier Sports alongside our partner McBookie. I can't believe we're past episode 30 and the fact that we weren't cancelled after the first 10, especially given Michael's involvement, is staggering in itself. But hey, we keep on going and we love it really. We wouldn't be anywhere else on a Monday night. Alan and Michael are here. Michael saw red yesterday. Is he about to see red again right now? Would you like to get in, Michael?
I just thought it was something appropriate. I just realised I could see behind me my book selection, which is quite appropriate. This one right here.
Oh, yes.
Imagine buying yourself that.
I know.
Actually, didn't he? I didn't buy it.
I bet you did.
Do you know what's even worse, Al? He's placed that there as if that wasn't planned. This is what happens. One day he gets a bit of flack, Al, right? He makes a call during commentary, he gets a bit of flack, and all of a sudden surrounded by idiots. Unbelievable. Anyway, listen, we might have another guest joining us tonight. Kevin Thompson is trying to log in. He's actually doing us proud because he's watching his kids training tonight. And if you remember, he was on earlier on this season and he managed to find a computer in a training ground. This time round, I'm not sure he's been so lucky. Although I've just had a text right now from him saying he thinks he's in. So I don't know, Jamie in the background, mate. I don't know if the Wi-Fi is stable, but do we have Kevin Thompson waiting to come onto the show? Let's find out. If not, we'll crack on, gents. We'll crack on. Anything can happen here. I've told you this before, Al. It's YouTube. Anything goes. Right.
That's what it's all about.
I've just been told, right, that apparently he's close, but he's not managed to get in and find the right Wi-Fi yet. So. Oh wait. Have we got a live update?
Oh my
God! Can we go to it, Jamie? Get him on, Kevin Thompson, if he's in the background, because he's worked so hard. Look, he's worked so hard.
He's in the car.
He's worked so hard to find some Wi-Fi. I can't believe it, Kev. Well played, mate. How have you managed that?
Just as well, like you, Darryl.
I
have drove every street in Trinent to try and get some Wi-Fi.
That's class. It's absolute class, especially because I know what you're not doing right now is watching your boys train. How are they getting on?
Good either. I think they're quite happy that I'm not watching it, to be honest. So that means I didn't moan afterwards.
Are you still the biggest critic?
I try. As long as they work hard, I'm happy.
Good.
As long as they work hard. Can you hear me all right?
I know they're doing really well. I know they are. There's so much to talk to you about, Kevin. We're going to get to some of the highlights from the weekend matches as well. Just before I go any further, the last time you and me had a little chat, you were back in coaching in the academy with Rangers. Is that still happening? And if so, how's it going there?
Yeah, it's been good. Been back in a few months now, Darryl. So getting used to driving back through to Glasgow 5 days a week. And a wee bit different when you're a player compared to obviously being a staff member. But really enjoying the boys. Really enjoy working with Stevie Smith. He's got the group going really well. A boy called Liam Ross assists him, and I'm kind of like I'd hate to describe myself as a third wheel, but I'm obviously part of that group and just trying to help as much as I can. And to be fair, at the club, they've been really supportive and obviously trying to accommodate obviously the boys' football and then obviously my academy. So I'm really enjoying it, but it's a difficult time because ultimately if the first team have disappointments, then you feel that right across the board.
I thought you were about to describe yourself as the guy that put the cons out, Tom, and I thought that was extremely harsh.
Well, yeah, I might even be below that now, Mikey, to be honest.
No, really not. Listen, how honestly, a genuine question, how are you fitting it all in? Because I know you're helping out there, but given everything else you've got going on, are you sleeping much? Is this 7 days a week, Kev?
7 days a week, Darryl. Listen, I've always preached that you need to work hard to obviously try and get to the top, but I think everybody knows it's probably the one club that I do it for. It is a big commitment. It's not the club's fault that I stay in Edinburgh, and obviously I've got my own academy as well, and obviously then the boys. So I think if the boys were a couple of years older and potentially had their opportunity, it would be an easier commitment. But everybody knows how passionate I am about my own academy. I'd hate to give that up, obviously. So trying to accommodate everything is a challenge. As you can see, I've got a wee bit of sun, I think, on my face. And
I was going to say, is it just the
lighting?
lighting?
A bit longer.
Yeah.
It's called stress, Darryl. You when you start to get some grey hairs, you can come back to me.
You don't need to tell me about stress. I've had plenty of that the last couple of years, Kev. Anyway, listen, Thank you for coming on. Thank you for finding some Wi-Fi. We'll get through plenty of the games. Really interested to get your thoughts on Rangers against Hibs at the weekend as well. But we have to start the live Premier Sports game yesterday. Michael, I'm not sure if you've calmed down a wee bit since. But look, just on Dundee United, first of all, they keep finding a way to register a vital 3 points this time of the season, Michael, staying right in the race for Europe. Narrow victory again this weekend, and all credit to them.
100%. I mean, look, obviously, I see a lot of comments in regards to Dundee United not, offering a great deal as an attacking threat yesterday. But for me, away from home, they made themselves difficult to beat. They made substitutes later on in the game to open up and pose a threat, and very quickly they did that, and they got a goal. So, I mean, to a great extent, it was an ideal away performance at a very difficult venue. So, to me, it highlights what Dundee United have got, which is a good balanced squad. They have recruited really well this season, and they've got flexibility in it as well. And I think when you compare and contrast the two sides, it really highlights the deficiencies that Hearts have got. And credit to Jim Goodwin and Dundee United, because they're still very much in that hunt for third spot with 2 away victories in the last couple of weeks.
But with 11 men on the pitch, Hearts had opportunities. They started the game okay. Alan didn't take the opportunities, and then, of course, we'll get to the red card shortly.
Yeah, we'll get to the red card. Look, that was the big defining moment for me that kind of spoiled the game. But I thought Hearts started well. They were creating opportunities. If anything, it probably lacked just a touch of quality. When you see some of them like here,
yeah,
you probably expect them to get it on target. It's unlucky. Had one kind of similar, except it was a header against Celtic the other week. But it was just that final bit. Look, I know what Michael said in his commentary, and I still stand by what I think. I think it's unlucky, probably a little bit naive. There's no malice in it. He's not going to hurt him, Lucas Stevenson there. I think he's just high, and where it catches him in the leg, that's why he's given the red. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But after that, I thought Dundee United stuck to their plan. Jim Goodwin made changes about 60 minutes. And
really?
Look, I don't think it's the best cross. I think it's one thing that I'll say about Middleton, these delivery at times isn't of the best quality, but I think Dolby makes it a really good ball into the box by using what he has, his presence, his power, to get that on target. So it ended up a really good goal.
Michael, I mean, Dolby is, like, as I was saying, as the main contributor there. But you look at the pace that Middleton shows to stretch the opposition, to exploit the space in the wing, and I just think that it's a huge 3 points for Dundee United. Yes, you can talk about the red card, but I still just think that for Hearts, they're teetering on top 6, and it's not good enough. Like, if you're being brutally honest, it's not good enough. Unfortunately for Neil Critchley, he's never had what you would class as a big result. He's not had a big result in his time at the club. January was, there was some good additions that were brought in. Steinbender, I think, has been a good signing. I think McCart's been a good signing. Kabangu has made a difference. But they have still not rectified what is glaringly obvious in terms of the deficiencies in the squad, and it still punishes them right now. This diamond that they've sort of, evolved into playing, it's not through design, it's almost just by
Mm.
chance, and it still is limited, I think, the way that it's played. And
Franklin started on the bench this time. They did make some changes after the previous defeat, Michael. But look, we could talk a lot about Hearts and what happened, what didn't happen, just on the red card, because you made quite a statement in commentary yesterday. 24 hours on, you were unequivocal on the fact that the ref made a mistake, and you don't want to see red cards given for challenges like that. And I know what you mean by saying, you don't want to see reds given for challenges like that, because we want to see players staying in the park. And on this programme, throughout the 30-plus episodes we've done this season, I think we've all given refs and VAR, Kev, I don't know if you've heard of them, but we've given them a heck of a hard time. But 24 hours on, Michael, do you stand by what you said, or have you softened a little?
You try to say that your text messages within 5 minutes have calmed me down?
No, I did listen. I did text him, Al. I did text him, and I did say, "Look, I'm not sure you've called that one right because I don't think it looked that good, particularly on that low replay. And when somebody tackles like that, I think in this day and age, you're going to see a red card. So I don't know, Michael. What do you think? Have you changed your stance?
What I would say, Daryl, is I will hold my hands up and apologise to the referee in regards of I don't think it was a horrendous decision. I don't think it was a horrendous
Apologies are being given out.
I'm just going to write down the time and the date here, Kev.
Oh, wow. I never thought I'd see the day. I never thought I'd see this. Apologies.
But there's a but. There is a big but here.
Okay, right.
I still think a yellow would have sufficed, personally. But I don't think it was a horrendous decision from the ref. In that instance, I think it's a borderline call that could have gone either way. So apologies to the ref. I don't think it was as Nick Walsh as horrendous as I thought. Having said all that, I've got to be honest. I think he then went on to have a pretty bad game in general.
There was some really poor decisions in that sport.
But on that instance, which was clearly the biggest one of the game, I don't think it was a horrific decision, which I initially did. And even when I was looking back at the replays, I still thought it was a bad call. I don't think it is, but I still do think that a yellow card would have sufficed, personally.
Okay. Listen, on Hearts, this Motherwell game to come now is just so big. And we're going to talk about that more next week and get through so much in this programme as well. But all credit to Dundee United, hanging in there, more than hanging in that race for third place, race for European place. Hearts, let's see what happens, because if they were to miss out in the top six, especially given where they were just a few weeks back and us all talking about the progress under Neil Critchley, that would be a disaster.
The next 2 weeks for Hearts are monumental. Yeah. They really are.
Scottish Cup.
If they don't make the top six and they get knocked out the cup, I mean, it's season over. Yeah, it really is. And not only that, you then start to get a little bit concerned about how congested that bottom six is, because there is not a lot between all the teams. And, not for a second do I think seriously or realistically that Hearts would get dragged into a relegation fight. But you've seen crazier things happen. Yeah. And if, this is my point, they were to follow up with a defeat in the semi-final, the confidence just goes through the floor. Yeah. And Hearts, it's 11 seasons since Anne Budge took over. And I know that obviously the foundation own the club now, but obviously Anne's still heavily involved on the board. They've had 7 managers. And during that period, I would suggest that the vast majority of them have not worked. They've not worked. And they're teetering on the edge here of, with the greatest respect to Neil Critchley, great guy, good coach, but it was never an appointment that, got the pulses raising.
No. Okay.
And you look at it, and there hasn't been a definitive big result, and they're also teetering on the top six. He needs to get a big result to show that things are turning and moving in the right direction.
Agreed. But Kevin's there. He's teetering on the brink, wondering why he got the signal to sign in. Let's get Kev back onto the show. Okay, right, let's talk Rangers Hibs. I don't even know where to start. I've asked this to Alan so many times the last few weeks, Kev, where to start on Rangers the way they're playing. But before we get to them, can we just do justice to Hibs, Kev? You're a former team, a team you're really fond of as well, of course, still associated with them through the family. I mean, David Gray, what a turnaround this season. And the way they played in the game was outstanding at times, the way they picked Rangers off.
Yeah, incredible, Darryl. It's probably I'm on a hide into nothing, I suppose, when this fixture always comes up. So it's always a difficult one. You cannot say right for saying wrong as such. But I have to say, delighted for Dave. Taking even that game out of the equation. 16 games unbeaten. I'm pretty sure, without asking him the question, that he had a few sleepless nights. I think back to possibly the Aberdeen game, going into injury time, almost losing the game, and Rocky Bushiri obviously getting that goal late on. It's amazing how the momentum swung. But listen, delighted for him, and delighted that the people behind the scenes had the patience and the personality, really, not to just keep on firing the gun, really. And I suppose you're now reaping the rewards for that. On the other hand, a club that you obviously know that I care a lot about, and obviously I know Barry really well, I know Griggsy really well, not so much Neil and obviously Dodgy, but know them, and I think they're hurting, Darryl. The place was difficult to be in today. It's Obviously, I know that's an obvious statement, but I think they're almost scratching their heads at times because they feel training can be good at times. They've had big results against Fenerbahce. They've had the big goal firm result. But I listened to Barnes' interview after the game, and he's right. He's banging the barn. It's bread and butter, winning games week in, week out at a club like Rangers. And unfortunately, it's not just been Barry. It was the same under the previous management. The consistency within the squad domestically has not been good enough.
If we look at the highlights, Al, the first goal doesn't look great for Jack Butland again, who's really struggling at the moment. But, I know Dessers had a couple of opportunities in the game again, but watching, Rangers didn't create all that much in terms of clear cut. I thought at times, actually, I know Bayrami hits the bar here, I actually thought
that's the best chance,
comfortable,
really.
Al.
They did. They were comfortable, and that's all the plaudits has to go to them. I mean, this wasn't meant, don't get me wrong, but I think in terms of the defence and the way they were set up there, I think it's all wrong. I think the gap between Sterling and Suter is too big. I think Suter can come over a touch. He could maybe cut out. I don't even think he knows Boyle's there. Jeffrey's caught up the top end of the pitch. Diamandi's trying to get back in to help. And they're just all at sea. The first goal is bad as well. Kind of half clearance out. Butland must do better. But this one, it just kind of points out their frailties at this moment in time. You look at the last, 8 games, and within 7, I think it is, it's been 2 or more goals that they've conceded. It's not good enough, and it's not been good enough. And I don't know if it's a mentality thing or what it is, because they've shown that they can get to a level, but they can't do it consistently. And that's a huge worry. There's too many players within there that I don't think pull their weight. And that's another problem. So you need leaders. You need people with character that can deal with what it's like to play at Rangers and the pressure that comes along with it.
Yeah,
Darryl, that's the last 5 home games.
It's never happened in the history of the football club, Alan. So this is historic stuff. To play consistently as poorly as that in front of your own fans, regardless of how good the opposition have been at times, it's an historic low for the club. And there's another huge game around the corner. So I'll come back to that in just a moment. I'll come back to Rangers with you as well, Kevin, in a second. But Michael, I mean, Hibs, we had David Gray in the show a few weeks ago. We've spoken so many times about them, and you still see some headlines about players out of contract in the summer, which ones should get new contracts. But the way it's going, they're going to be planning with potentially a much better budget, because they look red hot favourites at the moment for Europe. And Martin Boyle, if they've got that option and he keeps playing like this, they've just got to take it now, don't they?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think was it last week when we spoke about this, when it sort of seemed to come about that, or seemed to sort of come into the public domain that there was the option of another year. So it's not so much negotiating a new contract.
No.
It's another year. And yeah, I think it's
triggering a clause, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's a no-brainer, really. Now, whether there's negotiations and discussions with Martin Boyle himself, and perhaps he's maybe saying that he's wanting something longer term, and whether he can try to get something, or he's asking the club, let me go because I want to go and get something. I don't know. But I think purely on a business perspective and footballing side of things, it's a no-brainer, because Martin Boyle just now is performing as you saw him 2-3 years ago, and he's injury-free. He's a huge asset to Hibs, and he, when you think about a month ago, you looked at the team and the big players, Triantis, Nicky Cadden, and Martin Boyle, the 3 of them really, they were performing regularly at the top, and each week they were having an impact. Nicky Cadden gets injured, and you think to yourself, that's going to have a real, negative impact. But credit to them, because now you start to see David Gray has got a group of players that I never expected to be in this position. I've said it enough. Didn't think they had the character, didn't think they had the ability, and he's starting to get performances out of players as well. Dylan Levitt's, stepped into the team and actually performing well now as well. So credit to the players, credit to David Gray. You can't give them enough sort of accolades at the moment, because they're firm favourites for third. Huge game obviously next week, Aberdeen Rangers as well, which depending on how that goes, you're thinking to yourself, Hibs are going to be going into this top 6 in fine form, and at least a point you would imagine ahead of Aberdeen. Yeah.
So Kev, look, I know that you're obviously in and around the Rangers training ground. It's not easy for you to talk about all of these different things, but the game on Thursday in the Europa League now is everything to the football club this season. But to play Athletic Club, a Bilbao side who are outstanding at times, they've got world-class players, guys like Nico Williams. In what kind of shape and position do Rangers enter this game now? And what kind of decisions do you think Barry Ferguson has to make after what he saw again at the weekend? And bearing in mind, I think John Souttar suspended, I think Diamandi's out of this game as well. So they've got issues.
They have, Darryl. And listen, if there was one person that could be bold and brave with his team selection, it would be Barry. I think he's had a few choice words, obviously, after the game at the weekend, and more choice words kind of at the start of the week. So it will be interesting. Obviously, we only get to see wee snippets when we're in the building, but I think he was very honest and brutal at times in his interview after the game, saying it wasn't a Rangers team. So I would expect if someone had the personality to mix it up, it would potentially come on Thursday. So it will be.
Do you feel that they've got a chance in the game, given Europa League form? And maybe this is the biggest step up yet, but do you still feel that they could produce something special?
I suppose off of the domestic form, Darryl, you would say no, but listen, we all know, we've all been there. Huts will tell you, European nights at Ibrox, or no matter who you come up against, when the fans get behind you, if you start in the right manner, albeit the opposition can be top class, there's no doubt about that, but everybody knows how difficult it is to go to Ibrox to win comfortably. And then the flip of that is, it's amazing some of the results that teams, albeit playing against opposition that are better than you, come up trump. So I'm intrigued to see how it go, Darryl, because I think you bang on. It's if they get beat and comfortably beat on Thursday night and then don't progress through, what does it look like for the last 5 or 6 games? Obviously another Old Firm coming. What's the morale within the fans leading into the summer? The 49ers things obviously in the background. There's so much animosity. The one thing that you can get away from that is if you can get some results on the pitch. So it's a difficult time, I think, for everybody involved.
And listen, don't answer this if you don't want to, but because I know how passionate you are about the club, and you've just talked about knowing Barry Ferguson and some of the coaching staff obviously really, really well, how much would you have loved the opportunity to get in there and work with them? And
the team's always to get to the top, Darryl. It's why you put the hard work in. It's why when I got the opportunity to go back to the academy, it's some people might look and think, back working with the younger ones, it's maybe a step back after being a manager, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. I would sweep the streets for the club. It means a lot to me, the place. It's the reputation that I've got within the fan base is really humbling. I've always been well appreciated, which is nice. Because listen, I was only there for 3.5 years. I can work in the academy. I'd like to think I represent the club in the right manner. And I know there's a million Rangers players that had better careers and better times than I was there. So I think when Barry got the job, I think it was not a difficult one for me because I'd already been given a role. And naturally, these guys want their own people, Darryl. So whether you're called upon or not, it doesn't change the fact that the focus for me as an individual that I'm in there to try and help the younger players get better, try to do my job at the best as my ability. And if an opportunity in the future, something like that was to come along, listen, of course you would jump at it. But at the same time, I'm delighted just to be back working at the club.
Nah, well said, well said. And of course, it's characters like Kev, Alan, that they need around the football club right now, because that's what's being questioned, the desire and the character of some of these players. What do you do, Al, going into this game on Thursday? Because definitely there's some fingers being pointed at the goalkeeper, some other players in the team as well. Desser's missing more opportunities. How drastic do you go in terms of team selection here?
But I actually look at it and say, well, how many changes technically can he make to improve it? I'm not really sure. I don't think he'll change Butland personally. I think he'll stick in between the goals. He'll probably revert back to the 5 that we've seen before in the past, and he'll try and get some sort of result. But that's the thing. Like when me and Tomo were playing, or that kind of era, if you want, you had like the spine of the team that was strong, who understood and knew what it was all about, and could get you over the line and be dogged and determined and all these sorts of things. I just don't think they've got enough of those types of qualities within the squad. And unfortunately, that's why we're seeing the inconsistencies week by week. So look, I'm like Tomo, I'm really interested to see what Barry does, because I'm actually looking at it and thinking, well, how many changes can he make that's going to be a positive and affect it in a good way? I'm just not so sure.
No. And that's it. There's so many question marks. That's the problem. Final one on Rangers, right? And we'll move on. Alan, linked with Greg Taylor. I was just doing the press rounds at the moment. I mean, I've got absolutely no idea if there's much truth in it. But if he's a free transfer and he would even be interested, do you sign him?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've never been in the situation. I know, like, Kenny Miller and that's done it and whatever, but that's a huge call, isn't it? I mean, when you think about everything that he's won and everything that he's done at Celtic, would he want to go to Rangers and kind of ruin that if you want? But I don't know. I'm sitting on the fence in this one.
That is the worst answer I've ever heard in this show from you. Do you want it or not, Al? That's all I'm asking.
Right, okay, from my point of view, I wouldn't do it if it was me.
Okay. You wouldn't?
If it was me, I wouldn't do it. No, absolutely not. But that's just me.
Right, but Darryl wasn't really asking from the player's perspective. I think he's asking from the club's perspective.
If Greg Taylor's interested, Al,
I think it brings a lot of heat, me personally.
would you sign him?
I don't stop it. Darryl, why you always come to me with these things?
Well, Darryl,
you are the man for this question.
Darryl, I'll tell him it because he's clearly not going to answer it. I actually floated this idea. Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, Huts?
Something like that.
We're at one of the games. I actually mentioned it. And I thought to myself, surprised it hasn't been mentioned before. And then it's obviously popped up in the press now. From a Rangers perspective, yeah, I would.
So you can see it happening. You can. No, I just can't.
Because I don't know what Greg Taylor would be thinking. But from Rangers' perspective, it's a free transfer. He's in the Scotland squad. So it's another Scottish player, which is a huge asset. He's a quality player. I don't know whether Greg Taylor would be interested, but if you're Rangers, for me, he's better than Jefty. He's better than Yilmaz. So I would do it.
I better leave Kev out this one. He's in the impossible situation they are talking about those other left backs. But I do want to get your thoughts on one of your other former clubs, Dundee, in a minute. So stay with us, Kev. I just want to get through one more game briefly. Michael, do you want to lead us on with Ross County, Aberdeen? Because the Dons need to keep winning at the moment, and they found the one real moment of quality in the match from a player that we've mentioned so much in this show as well, Shayden Morris. Not always a starter, but when he's on the pitch, he can produce something like this.
Yeah, the one real moment of quality. Blistering pace, great finish, and that's all that's needed in a very, very tight game. But you look at the last two home games for Ross County the last 2 weeks, and they have huffed and puffed.
Yeah.
It sort of look like they might do something, but they don't create a great deal of clear-cut chances.
Or score.
And ultimately, they've been punished in the last 2 weeks. And you now look at them, and they're in a relegation fight. And 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't have been thinking that. No, 31 goals scored in 32 games tells you everything you need to know. Their goals against are comparable with the other teams that are in the bottom six that are around them. But 31 goals in 32 games is clearly the Achilles heel of this side. And if they don't start creating more chances, then you look at the likes of Dundee that are around that bottom end of the table. Dundee, we said this before as well, with their full squad fit, I can't see anything other than them pulling away from trouble and moving up the table because they're a good team.
Yeah, they are. We'll see that in just a second. And for Ross County, I think I read Noah Chilvers has done his knee as well. He's out for a while. Yeah. That's another blow in terms of creativity in the forward areas. And Aberdeen, look, they've got themselves back on track to an extent. And again, it's going to be interesting to see what they do the next couple of weeks. But Kev, while we've got you then on to Dundee, we've just mentioned it. We were kind of surprised on this show that they even found themselves in this kind of relegation battle, if you want to call it that, because of the quality they have in the team. And I know they've had injuries, Kev, but you must be delighted to see them winning some big games the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think Tony Dock's done a brilliant job there. I think it's when I played up there, it's a hard thing to get your mentality around if you're winning games of football. A good month at Dundee can maybe be picking up 7 points out of 12, or winning a game, losing a game, drawing a game. But I think he's done a brilliant job, Tony Dock, and I think he'll continue to do a brilliant job. But naturally, as the animosity comes in circles in Scottish football, when you don't win games and you get clawed into relegation battle, you start to worry that people maybe get impatient, or fans start to get a wee bit grumbly. So delighted that they've picked up some wins. It's amazing when I looked at the goal scoring charts that Simon Murray just continues and continues and continues, even for teams that potentially down near the bottom of the league. I.e., when he was at Ross County, he done exactly the same. So I suppose Tony Dock will be delighted that he's got that armoury in his locker.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure that
sorry, Kev, I was
when it
just going
comes
to
to the
say,
bottom six
I think
games,
that hotspot is
Dundee will
almost
be
about to
fine.
fail you, mate. Maybe it's just as
Not
well. We're not
pounding
going to
the
hold you.
meter.
Oh, yeah,
Just another
you
pound in the meter.
you need to get Scott Brown round. He's going to
Sorry.
sort your Wi-Fi right
Can you hear me
now. Right
That's
now. Listen, we
I was
got
trying.
the,
Did you
we got
lose
the
me now?
gist. No, we've got you now. We've got the gist. But you were talking about Simon Murray. There's even talk of. We'll try one more with you, Kev. There's even talk of an international call up for him, and he loves an early goal in recent weeks. I talk about Dundee. Can't believe they didn't take something against Rangers in that game. That was extraordinary, but brilliant in the derby before that. 2-0 against St Mirren. Simon Murray's been at the heart of so much of those games I've just mentioned, Kev.
Yeah, that's what I was just actually talking just before I probably lost you, Darryl. I seen the goal scoring charts, and to think that he done the same up at Ross County. He's not all due respect to Dundee and Ross County. He's not sitting up the top of the league and banging all the goals, and I think he's unique. He's scored goals everywhere he's been. I have to say, it has to be a manager's dream, but a teammate's dream as well, Darryl. The work that he does, he's a relentless runner. He scores all type of goals, whether they be scuffs in the net, 6-yard box ones, some worldies in there. But what a teammate to have, because by God, he runs that line, doesn't he? So I think Dundee will be fine. I think when the bottom six games come, I think Dundee will pull away for that trouble.
First class. Kev, listen, mate, you've done us proud tonight, finding your Wi-Fi and everything else. And I know your boys are training, so please get back in there to watch them. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Kev. I'll let you go, and we'll catch up soon.
See you, lads.
See you,
Thanks
mate.
for having me.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care. See you,
Cheers,
boys.
Cheers, Kevin. Thank you. Just briefly, then, just to continue on that, Michael, on Simon Murray.
Chuck him in against Iceland and Liechtenstein. They'll not have a Scooby what's going on. They'll think
It's so true. It's so true. Genuinely, though, because I think on these kind of conversations, it's easy to throw it out there and to say, Michael, yeah, put him in the international squad. Why not get, he's scoring some goals. He's a nightmare for defenders. Throw him in there. Does he have enough quality to step up in that level? And also, I think most importantly, when you look at the other options Scotland have, would he be a good fit?
Well, I mean, look, you then need to take into consideration what's happening for the national team up the top of the park at the moment. Is it a long-term solution? No, it's not. But at this moment in time, he bangs goals in and he runs his backside off. And he, for a fact, if he was to pull on a Scotland jersey, he'd do even more running, even if that's possible. You just know it. And that can be infectious, that type of thing. Lyndon Dykes, when he came out the Scotland team, made a huge impact from being a nuisance as well. Good hold-up play, ruffling up defenders. Now, Simon Murray's not exactly the same, ilk as Lyndon Dykes, but what he has got is he's probably got a better goal-scoring record. Now, Lawrence Shanklin, great goal-scoring record that's not been replicated at international. I get all that. But when you're talking about potentially going into a squad, I don't think it's the most ludicrous shout at all. I honestly don't.
And if he's the right personality, Al, then it's not going to hurt anyone around him.
Absolutely not. Like I'm of the point where do you not pick players off form for a start? Like that should be one of the main boxes to tick, right? He's on form. He's at top with Maeda and the goal scoring chart. So why wouldn't you? And as Michael says, right, it's not maybe long term, but if he can add something different, you can put him on in certain games. He works defences. He can get you a goal. That's what he's there for. And I ultimately think you pick off form. So why would you not have somebody in that kind of form at the moment?
And they've got 2 games there, Darryl, that was just mentioned there, that are the perfect, opportunity to actually do something like that. You're not talking about changing systems and trying different things out. And I'm not even suggesting that you start them, but you've got 2 games against Iceland and Liechtenstein in the summer where there will inevitably be players who need a rest, who have had a long season.
Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity to put the likes of Simon Murray into the squad. And another final thing I would say about Simon Murray is I think he's very much like Daizen Maeda in regards to, we've spoken so much about Daizen Maeda's quality in finishing and that final touch that's improved dramatically this season. I think Simon Murray in the last couple of years has been on that similar path where 3 or 4 years ago, you looked at him and he was, he'd sclaff a lot. His technique wasn't brilliant. Now you look at his finishing, and I think it's pretty good. He finds the target a lot. So I think he's improved a lot the older he's got, and I think he's worthy and deserving of getting a call up personally.
Yeah. And just to draw a line under that game, then a really good, really well earned 3 points for Dundee. Disappointment.
But Michael, wait. See the first one. I can let that slide because, you could have a bad kick. I know you shouldn't, but you can. It's the second bit. Why is he not just sprinting back in and then see when it actually gets to there? I still think he can stop it. As if he's he doesn't know what's happening. He's just got all confused.
There's a wee bit of panic, isn't there? Just for a second.
It just sets in.
And then it's pure disaster from that point onwards. So Dundee, absolutely priceless 3 points for them. Kelly needed it as well up against the Motherwell side. They've got so much still to fight for, Al. And this is a game with referees' decisions that we're going to be discussing here, and VAR getting involved again. I know I'm the same. I couldn't believe it when I saw the highlights to this one. But Kilmarnock needed these 3 points, and they got them out.
Yeah, I think
your brother-in-law will be happy.
Yeah, I think it was important after last weekend result that they kind of came and put on a performance, and they needed it because I thought at one stage they're probably going to be looking over their shoulder and worrying about what's coming up behind them, especially like Dundee, how well they're playing, and we know they can score goals. So I thought they had to get a result. And look, the sending off and everything, they get the goal and then the sending off, and then Motherwell going to struggle to try to come out and create anything. I think they only had one shot on target, and that was Halliday at the end of the game. But this is the first goal. Bobby Wales does well, hits the post. Armstrong then picks up. That's a lovely little cutback. Balcom, I think, just gets a little nick on it on its way through. But Fraser Murray with a good finish there to put them one up. And then
I just don't get it, Al.
Yeah, we're getting it right. So this for me is, I think that's just a normal clearance that you're trying to put it down the line probably as far as you can go. I don't think it's not like the Tarkowski one where it actually kicks through and as if you've played the game, you can go through somebody.
And Tarkowski goes to ground, by the way, and flies in.
Yeah, that one, I believe that it's just a normal reaction to kicking the ball down the line. So second one's a set play.
You know that Tarkowski incident for me has unquestionably influenced VAR. Unquestionably.
You think so? Think they've seen it and thought?
I don't think there's any doubt. And
even this one, Michael. I mean, thank goodness they get
just
it
get
right
up and get on with it. Like
exactly.
see like that. Just get up and get on with it.
But the assistant ref is
right
next to this.
His linesman is what, 2-3 feet away? I can't understand. And Matthew McDermott, he didn't make the decision quickly. He took his time before he showed the red card. The linesman should be telling him. Like, it's a much ado about nothing. And by the way, Matthew McDermott was the ref who sent off Olasanya for a second yellow card. When he bumped into a player.
They're coming together one.
Oh my God.
This is, I think this is the point we've all tried to make this season. I certainly have. You know, when you make errors, Michael, you know about this yesterday. When you make you've got to learn from them.
There's an asterisk there, darling. Caveat.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes, these refs have to learn from what happened prior. It feels like an awful, a fair number of them don't seem to be reflecting back and trying to improve. And the decision making has just been atrocious at times.
I don't understand how, on the first instance, one, obviously, it's all initiated by VAR with a horrendous call to say to Matthew McDermott, come and have a look at it. But how he can look at that and not just go, no, I saw, because by the way, he saw it perfectly when you see it, the incident, and he turns to go up the park as if he's just going to let the game play on. So how he then can look at it as a replay and see something that he didn't, because he was looking right at it. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't a different angle. There was nothing. And he should have just stuck to his original decision and went, thanks, it's fine, saw it.
And what have we
But-
said? What we said? We've said eventually one of these decisions is going to have such a big bearing on the season. Who knows? Killy might have gone on and won that game comfortably, but Motherwell fighting for the top six. Al, this could be the difference of getting the points required, getting more money into the football club. I mean, these are huge moments of a football season.
Yeah, so much hinges on these decisions. And look, for me, it definitely wasn't a red card. And whether Kelly went on to win it if they still had 11 on the pitch, we'll never know. But I think from a Motherwell situation, they're still fighting for that top six, and it means everything to them, because after that was always going to be difficult. They really struggled to create anything. But I just think some of the decisions right now, like if you know football, like that one there, the red card, you have to follow through somewhat, but there's no intent to go and injure. And even the second one, Armstrong's quite clever. He grabs Thompson down with him, so he ends up on top of him, and then it's just a push off. But look, they've still got an opportunity to finish in the top six. We'll see what happens next week, but it's going to be really interesting.
You don't even need to understand football. You just need to simply understand how the body moves.
No, I know, but
isn't there, Darryl?
Yeah,
no, but
there is. We're not going there, by the way, with a few minutes left of the programme. Let me tell you that. Look, we can talk refs, VAR all the time. We can all just pray that it gets better moving into the final few weeks of the season, and it doesn't cost a club just, eventually a place in Europe or a place in the top flight or a place in the top six, whatever it is. Right, final game. Al, did you see this coming? St Johnstone Celtic. I mean, great start to the game.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You're the only one that would have predicted it. But by the way, what a display from them. A brilliant first 45 minutes, by the way, and then they weathered the second half storm. But what about these 3 points coming their way?
Oh, absolutely massive in terms of where they're sitting at this moment in time. It was huge. I've waited a long time to speak about something like this. No, but I didn't see it coming, to be honest. But I think sometimes from a Celtic's point of view, they're so far ahead, and you maybe go there thinking, right, well, we're playing bottom of the league. We'll probably get a couple of early goals and it'll be done. But St Johnstone are fighting for their lives, and you could tell by the way they played. Yes, they carried a threat and they had to weather the storm, but throwing bodies in the line, Andy Fisher in goal, some big saves, centre-backs playing really well. I just thought in general you could see that it meant everything to them. And that's why they ran out winners eventually.
You need something to hold on to, don't you, sometimes, against the top teams, Michael, and they had that and they clung on to it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in stark contrast to what we saw last week at Easter Road, it just baffles me how
by the way, what about that
element from St Johnstone at the moment, because like Alan said, they really showed a hunger and a desire, and bodies on the line. Yes, you're going to need to ride your luck up to a certain extent when you're playing against the top team in the division. But that one that Alan's talking about, the Maeda strike, and it lands at Kuhn's boot. I think it was
Duke McKenna. Aye.
I'd got back in and made the block. Great block. But, I mean, Brendan Rodgers is clearly not happy. And that James Forrest.
He needs to go to the side.
16 seasons, consecutive seasons. If that goes in the back of the net that he scored in. At the moment, he's sitting on 15. Will he get an opportunity to score another?
I think so. I think he will. I'll say yes. There you go.
So, you would think with the games to come this season, and once the title's eventually wrapped up, he'll get more game time and they'll get every opportunity to do it. You'd think, Michael, especially if Nicholas Kuhn keeps on playing the way he's playing. I know a lot's been said about Nicholas Kuhn over the weekend. Is he being really smart here, Michael? Is he putting off all those teams in Europe who are trying to find a transfer to get done during the summer? I don't know. What has happened to him?
He's going to say that was his original opinion, isn't he?
Because he's not hit the byline, Michael.
What?
Is it because he's not hit the byline?
No. I mean, look, the edge has gone out of his game, and for wide guys, front guys like that, when the edge is taken away, it makes all the difference. It really does. And I said it, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago. I suppose the danger is that question marks then start to be raised in regards to, were the first 4 months of the season an anomaly, or where is his sort of general level, because obviously struggled when he first joined in January last season. Start of this campaign was, top man, incredible performances, not just domestically, but in Europe as well.
That's what I was going to say. He did it at the very top level, Michael, the very top level.
Tailed off, but it's really tailed off, quite dramatically. So he's got a big end to the season. And also,
Michael, do you think Brendan Rodgers, Brendan Rodgers, given that, look, it's almost job done anyway, and I know the Scottish Cup, they're going to play St Johnstone again very soon. You'd expect that's going to be a very different match at a different venue. But do you think he's starting to make decisions in his mind about some of these players based on what he's seeing now, or is that too harsh?
No, that's football. You're always getting decisions made, from regards to managers and coaches on what's going on. And it's not just like you're talking about, all right, I might drop this player because they've had, 3 or 4 weeks of pretty poor performances. We're talking about not just, Nicholas Cooney. This is just an example. Yeah. If somebody's tailed off for months, of course that's going to plant seeds of doubt.
I actually mean more about the future. So for instance, right?
Yeah, I know. So
Nicholas Cooney. But Nicholas Cooney, if there's a huge bid that comes in for him in the summer still, right? If a massive bid comes in, based on what you've seen the last few games, the last few weeks, couple of months, if you want, and more, does it maybe shape the thought of Brendan Rodgers to say, I think we have to take that money now? Or do you think, in your own mind, this boy has produced for me in the very top games, Champions League games, and therefore you cannot lose him?
Well, this comes down to own personal preferences and opinions, but again, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, even regardless of the level of the drop-off, if there was a big bid that came in, I think Celtic should and would accept it, and then they would reinvest it, personally. Now, if you look at the front three that they've got at the moment, obviously there's flexibility in there, and you've then got Ida and Yang as backup. Now, they are clearly going to go and recruit a big name or main number 9 striker. So if you're selling one of the wide guys, you could be signing a main striker and another winger in the summer, and possibly you could still be making a profit off of that if you were to sell Nicholas Kuhn at a good price. So it's all about, Celtic have shown over the years they are not frightened to sell on one of their top assets at a good price and then reinvest, perhaps not all of it, but they've done very well at then bringing in the next guy who's going to make them some money.
Al, your thoughts on those comments and the way Celtic are playing right now? How much has that taken you by surprise?
Yeah, it has. But I do believe that because they're so far in front and what they've achieved up until now, that's where the bar is. That's the level that they've set for themselves, and they need to continue to reach that. Look, I don't see it as being a huge problem. I think for the manager at this moment in time, he wants to see performances and points. So he wasn't happy. He said that. He let the players know. And it's about coming back for the next game and kind of showing everybody what you're capable of. Look, it's one of those things. I agree with Michael there and everything that he says about Kuhn. If the price is right, he'll go. They'll reinvest. They've always done it right for so many years. But I think you just need to knuckle down at this moment in time, get it over the line, get it done and dusted, and then he'll probably look to the future and decide what he's going to do with the squad and moving forward. But no, they've definitely dropped off a level.
Would you bring Kyogo back?
Well, the only problem with that, Michael, is the word was that he wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wouldn't.
All of a sudden, if a player says, "Oh, I've made a mistake, I want to come back," do you accept that? Or especially because it's Kyogo? I don't know, Michael. What do you think?
I'm posing the question to you. You're answering a question with a question.
Listen, if Kyogo wants to come back and he's got the desire to come back and he wants to hold his hands up and say he's made an error in judgment to leave the football club and he wants to give it everything that he did before, surely it's a player you take back, Al.
I would have said, well, why didn't you just stay there in the first place?
Yeah, totally.
Do you know what I mean? So he's went there thinking the grass is greener on the other side, and it's quite clearly not. I mean, he's went there, it's not went his way. He's hardly playing now. He's not kicking a ball. And he was playing in the Champions League. He was winning trophies, competing every single year, getting awards for his performances.
And he did.
Why would you go to where you went? Unless it was a Juventus or something. Come on.
Here's another one. Have you watched, there's a new documentary, Peter Schmeichel?
No, but I saw it advertised. I will watch.
Very good, very good. And what I actually hadn't appreciated was when he left United, obviously there was difficulty replacing him. In the first season, it was Mark Bosnich and Massimo Taibi. And apparently, it wasn't in the documentary, but I'd heard about this, was that first season that Peter went out to Sporting Lisbon, there was a verbal agreement that they were going to let him go on a free transfer to go back to United. And the gaffer actually then said, no, I'm not going to do it. I need to look to the future.
Yeah, and that is the issue.
Just relative to what we're talking about.
No, you're right, because sometimes managers stand firm. If you've left the football club and you've had the desire to go, you don't get back. Simple as that.
He probably wishes that he did bring him back.
Well, I know. In hindsight, I also was thinking the other day about this very debate and question that might come on the show this week in Maeda, because there was a few, transfer rumours, linking him with a big money move away, and when he sees Kyogo going somewhere else and it not working out, you just wonder if that makes somebody like Maeda say, it's going well here at the moment. Why leave? He's getting international recognition as well. Well, of course. But he's getting international recognition anyway. He can't be in much better form than he is now. Right, listen, we're out of time. I'm so pleased that we didn't mention a 10-team top flight in this program, because that might have been a worse conversation than VAR. I just want to see how this plays out, because we will talk about that another day, guys.
If you came out with that
comment, you've started them.
If you came out with that comment, I would definitely have been reaching for my book.
Listen,
just saying.
Michael, I have to say, I put out a bit of do you still call it a tweet when it's X? I don't know. I did hammer them. The Brains Trust, I called them, because that would have been a disaster, surely. Anyway, let's hope they get it sorted. Whatever they want to do and change things in the future, let's hope it's for the better, not the worse. Like this show, we can only get better. Time is up. Al, Michael, thank you very much. We're back next week on the Social Club at the same time. We will see you then. Bye for now.
The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.